El flamenco, en cuanto a armonía, está basado en la cadencia andaluza, que son estos acordes: la, sol, fa, mi.
technically speaking, as we have 4 chords in the Andalusian cadence, coming not from any scale, but just existing on its own, and that in F sharp minor means first in the F sharp minor, then flat 7, E major, then we have D, flat 6, C sharp 7 flat 9, which is the 5th 7 flat 9. So therefore these 4 chords here sounds like this. The Spanish or Andalusian cadence. Now that generally to play something on that cadence, that chord progression, we can approach it just Paco did. It was his idea to first play something that presents an idea on the first chord, then develops it further, more development, and then concludes on the 5th 7 flat 9, which is our most important chord. In fact, out of these 4 chords, the most important one is this. 5th 7 flat 9. So therefore, that's where it's played the remate or conclusion. The remate means ending, and that's where it's played the last chord out of these 4. Every flamenco music comes from this only, as Paco just said. And therefore, it's very important that we can learn how to play over this chord progression. So this means that we can also present an idea, this chord, then place a question, this one, answer it, this, working with answer question, kind of composition, and then conclusion, 5th 7 flat 9. So 4 parts: present idea, place a question, play the answer, and conclusion. This, because of the singers in flamenco singing, very important, the lines of the singers in modern flamenco have a very particular shape. So every phrase has to make sense, right, with what is played after. Otherwise we will just say, well, let's improvise here, we use one scale, but we never really make sense one phrase to the other. So in order to have meaning what we play, to make sense of what we are playing, we need to know the remate and how to handle this answer question, so that the phrase you play, what comes after and from where it comes before, makes sense. So this is a very important thing, and therefore here this is one very simple guideline. Also another thing, in flamenco, generally the aesthetics here goes that the phrase is played and then the chord happens. So it means that the phrase precedes the chord. So it will be more or less like this. It's the 3rd chord. So let's check them. 5th 7 flat 9. the simplest line possible, and then we'll elaborate, because this is infinite work here, you can do many things. So let's take the simplest one, modal, without ornaments, and let's take this here.
That is the idea that you play the phrase, the second last note of the phrase itself, of each phrase out of the 4 phrases. Remember, this is presenting the idea. Place a question. Answer it. Which could be a replica, as in this case we're explaining here, of the question. And then conclusion, the remate. So that is how it's round, the thing, and it's not just wandering all over. That's the difference between a great solo. If you know these principles, I'm sure you will succeed to play it as well. So this is very important, and it's a simple thing, but it's a bit tricky because the phrase is going, and then the chord happens. This is longer, so, and then the chord happens, and then the chord happens. So we are kind of behind the chord. Right? Let me show you this with a bit more elaborate form. Here we go.
Generally, also at libitum and in many other things, right? If we were playing this in Aldias, suppose we were playing this in Soleil Bulería, then we have to play the first part on beat 1, and the next use it as a phrase on 6.5. To make just a very start from a simple thing, because I can't play very elaborated things here. I want you to understand the simple concept just with what the singers do. The singers do this line kind of thing. And that's the round of 4 chords to present an idea, place a question, answer it, and conclusion. The remate. And this is very important. And if you keep this in mind, you can be playing a solo any place of these. And now I know the remate will come. So I close the statement and I still present it. That makes sense. And I have to solve in the point which requires to play the remate, right? So this here, very important thing to make sense of what you play. Another thing is, of course, when in composition, this is leading to composition understanding, of course, because, for instance, if I play the basses, same idea. Something and then play something else after, which makes sense with what we played before. Otherwise, there are disconnected phrases, and that's what is not a good composition, in Paco's opinion. Right? I'm showing you what is the modern flamenco style, which means only Paco was great at this. In fact, he reinvented it because of the use of many other scales before. There was no question of playing stuff over chord changes like this. This is just 4 chords. So on the first chord, here we have a modal choice probably of Aeolian thing, because if we try to play Dorian mode here on the first degree, this is a characteristic note of the Dorian mode in F sharp minor, namely D sharp. So the natural sixth. So this is the Dorian chord. So we cannot just play anything also as far as choosing notes is concerned. There are three elements on a nice composition or a solo, which is choosing notes, which scale I will use. Then it comes the contour. This is, for example, the scale, minor melodic. And then I choose contour of a pattern. This is changing just the order of the notes, but the notes are same. That's contour, and then the rhythm. So this rhythm thing here, as you see, the phrase can be very free. You can play it, it's not to count it or something very rhythmical in this case. That's why I choose this slow tempo to explain this topic. Because you can play the phrase square or you can play it very free. Let me show you how. Here we go. 1, 2. Or I can do that static there. And I have to close this. So here is another thing which I would like to highlight. When you play a leave it to mode, so same ideas for composition. For instance, say I'm playing the bass is this. One after the other on the bass. The bass side, which has the same idea. Let's see. Then of course you can put it in Bulleri. In tangos, this thing will have the same idea. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2,
3, 4, 3, 4. Same thing. So this stuff of Andalusian cadence, we need to know it because that's the raw material with what will make this music come to existence, right? So every phrase has to answer the other, basically. This one, you see this? When I answer that as a question, then I answer it. So there is a sequence which have to make sense. And then now the conclusion. Right. Also, notes alone are not okay yet. Because suppose if I play this, just a simple thing, which I play with the thumb resting, with the proper angle and right place, and the index pulling. With a small golpe, one of the very few which survive, which is this golpe of nail. One of the very few, actually the only one. Paco ruled out every other golpe with nail except this, which is used to emphasize it's not perpendicular to the top, but kind of bend in a diagonal angle. So this thing, the acoustic image becomes this. If I play this just like only the notes, this is how it sounds, will sound. So in classical guitar, this will sound like this. And the notes are right, but that doesn't sound flamenco. Why? Because it's not just only the notes. That's why this tab business, give me the tabs and that, doesn't work unless you know how to do it. And by the way, I will post the description of this video, the tabs of this what I'm playing, because I want to give you as a present that. And just for you to explore, at least until some extent, this territory. But really speaking, even if you know which notes I am playing, or unless you play the notes as have to be played, it will not sound properly. Like in this remate thing, I could play this thing, right? This is how it sounds, just the notes. Or first two simultaneous, so we have two notes simultaneous first, and then this. But if I play it this way, that's not the same like if I play it like this. So it depends on all these factors. To sound flamenco really, so it's not just about the notes, but how to play it and the intention, interpretative intention. I can play it also mechanically stuff. I can do. And then it doesn't make any sense. You have to emphasize the phrase and to milk it maximum. That's interpretation, because these notes like this doesn't mean anything. But if you play it powerfully, interpreting this well, it becomes a very powerful statement. So it depends how you play it.
Well, in the first part I was playing over a rondeña tuning thing, but of course you can play it right, as opposed to this chord, these 4 chords here. If I play this fingering, for instance, I need to use about how complex is this stuff really. It's simple when you have guidance, personalized guidance, personal, of what you can do. When you try to do it yourself, you will only get 5% at most. This is warning about this because I want to deliver value, and this is part of the value. Because don't be naive thinking you can do this alone. You need to do all the training. It's how to play a chord in flamenco, what's the proper sound, what is about the emphasis of the melodies, to really get it as it sounds great, right? So, for instance, let's say if I play this phrase like this. Right? One way is to finalize of the first phrase and the second one to follow one another could be as follows. Can be in many different ways, but the thing is, this is the stuff to explore about, because every phrase has to answer the other and make sense. So this is what we are doing, also part of our studies. I hope this is useful for everyone, those who are with me, of course, because we are studying this in Skype, and those who do not know get an idea of what we are doing. Thank you, and I see you next time.